revolving fund stores account, there's no difference. Okay, so we are moving on to our future year projections. And Mr. Barbary, I believe you asked about the 2021-22 additional budget gap of between $800,000 to $1.2 million, and how the district is going to be looking at resolving that going forward. And again, that is going to depend a lot on enrollment, our revenue that we receive from enrollment, and reductions. And so we will have to, continue to find ways to make sure that our staffing is commensurate with our enrollment, so that we can balance that out. And then you see we have variables. Enrollment, of course, we are predicting that will continue to decline. That is not, again, unique to San Marino. That is a statewide phenomenon that we are experiencing, particularly in Los Angeles County. We have the lowest birth rate since the Great Depression. I said that a billion times. Millennials are not having babies for some reason. They're having way too much fun. And except for my son, he's contributing, and we'll say, he's expecting a baby in August, so we're doing our part. And then we have LCFF and state funding, special education costs. That's a real variable. We're doing our absolute best to try and manage those resources, but we have to provide services to students depending on their needs, and we will continue to do that. Health benefit costs, we have done a lot of work, and President Chang has been part of our benefits committee, and we have worked really, really hard to make sure that we're always going out for RFP to get the best deal for our employees, and to make sure that we are able to contain escalating health costs. And so this year, those costs are going to go up by about 4.4%, which is very good because it's well below trend. And then we're looking for ongoing budget savings through attrition and reductions. And then we, of course, are looking forward to the parcel tax election renewal. In 2021, it is projected to take place in March unless the board decides something like that. So balancing the budget, how are we going to accomplish that? With lower student enrollment, that is very difficult. As we mentioned before, we have 30.4% of our general fund revenues coming from local sources, which we are very grateful for. We need to adjust staffing based on lower enrollment. Dr. Wilson and I attended a declining enrollment seminar conference that was sponsored by School Services of California at Alameda County Office of Education. And they really did make very clear to all the districts, and that was a packed room, that we're competing for every student, number one, and that we need to make sure that we are adjusting staffing sooner rather than later when possible going forward, and that we really do need to make sure that we are conservatively balancing our budget and managing it going forward. We do have increased automatic costs in terms of step and column. And as I mentioned before, that's right around, it's a little over $600,000, and that's quite an expense in our budget. Health benefits are going up, as I mentioned, by about approximately 4.4%, and then the CalSTRS and CalPERS contributions are increasing exponentially year over year. We no longer have the cash flow fund that we used to talk about. At one point, it was $7 million, and we are in the process of exhausting that, and not by choice. We're going to look for budget savings and reductions, and that's what we're doing right now. And our new superintendent began his tenure here in San Marino. With that in mind, right? Because he came in and created the first the Fiscal Resources and Stability Task Force. And that is a very dynamic group of stakeholders from the community, professionals who are coming together to try and look for creative streams of revenue. Looking at, what should we do with our parcel tax? How can we increase the amount of revenue that comes into the district in ways that we've never thought of before? And so now the group is to the point where they are working in subcommittees on specific topics and projects. And so we will be reporting back to you on that, I'm sure, in several weeks, from there on out. So that's a very productive group. That's it. Any questions or further discussion on the second interim report? So if hearing none, the district would like to request that the board take action to approve.
Any more comment and a question?
Does this have to be approved tonight?
I think so, right?
You have to submit it to the county by March 15th.
By March 15th.
We can, if you have any questions, or we're happy to meet with you individually, any of you individually, to go over the documents that correspond to these numbers.
I'd really like to hear more about what's going on in the first before. There's huge assumptions laid in here for how we're going to meet, especially, next year, obviously we're going to be talking about that in a minute, but the next year, which is part of the document,
Yeah.
There's another $800 to $1.2 million that.
Yeah, and
The first, I would say, Mr. Barber, the first team is still a ways out from specific, and again, they're a task force, not a committee, but specific ideas that we can bring forward. So those subcommittees are pretty dug in right now, working on that work. I can share with you that one of them is working on the enrollment piece, for instance. The parcel tax is a very large discussion now that we're on the other side of the Measure S election. So what are the implications for that moving forward with the potential bond measure or the parcel tax? So that probably wouldn't yield you the information that you would be looking for before March 15th.
And as we all know, the budget is a living, breathing document that will change based on board decisions and how we move forward. As you know, we are looking to resolve the budget deficit that we have for 2020-21. So part of that work will be done this evening, and we're going to continue to try and capture as much savings as we possibly can. And the reductions that we're looking at making are going to be across the board in every way possible.
But it absolutely has to be submitted by the 15th, because as you know, we didn't really get this until, well, the first try was yesterday morning, late.
Well, we could have I guess we could, a special meeting.
A special meeting.
On Friday afternoon or something, if you wanted more time.
I guess what I would also say is that the confidence level should be fairly high in that coming out of the school services budget review process, which, confirmed a lot of what you're looking at.
Yeah.
I think at the very least, we need to defer the vote on this until we do the next thing. Because I think that the outcome of that would add legitimacy to at least the next year, assuming that all goes however it goes. I think that if something happened with that, these numbers would be incredibly challenging.
I think that's a great suggestion.
So that would make me, a bit more comfortable approving this. So can I make that motion to defer the vote on this until after the next agenda item?
Do we have enough time to respond to the?
We don't even know what time it is.
The clock out disappeared.
9:46.
We're probably gonna have to extend.
Well, I don't propose that this would take a long time with discussion after that matter. That being done, and there's a lot of people that I think want to be heard on that matter here. So I would like to defer this. So I'm making the motion to defer the vote on this until after we deal with the next agenda item.
Oh, you mean we come back, right?
We come back to it right after the next thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm making a motion to do that.
Okay, anyone second?
it.
Okay. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, still vote?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, let's go to the 12C, resolution number 15, intention to reduce or eliminate a particular service and to lay off affected certificate employee. We have one public comment.
Don't we normally do the presentation first, and
Okay.
then we do public comment?
Okay,
Be careful about our discussion.
okay, Linda, can you go?
Yeah. But we need to be careful about our discussion of this before, right? Because it's presentation, community input, and discussion, right?
Yes,
Okay.
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 Yes, President Chang, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Wilson, and executive team members. It is with a heavy heart that I present the Board of Education with resolution number 15 to reduce particular kinds of services within the certificated service. It would be effective at the end of the 2019-2020 school year. And there are three primary reasons the district is providing you with this information this evening. The first is our well-known projected $3 million deficit for the 2020-21 school year. The second is that we have steadily declined in enrollment over the last 5 years. During that 5-year period of time, we have not reduced our staffing to be commensurate with the numbers that we have enrolled. And number three, to allow the Board of Education to take action to eliminate or reduce particular kinds of services that fit under the PARS Retirement Incentive Program. That's going to take a bit of explanation. And the reason why we need to do this is the board is aware we had 17 certificated professionals take the Retirement Incentive Program. So we have 17 individuals who will be retiring at the end of this school year. The district intends to absorb some of those positions, and we need the board to take action to absorb those positions. So those are positions that will not be noticed. There are 11 of them that fall under this category. So of the FTE that you see before you on resolution number 15, 11 of those FTE will not be people getting notices because they're going off to celebrate their lives and have a wonderful next chapter of retirement. Then we have a total of 20.2 FTE that are actual positions that will receive a notice. So I just am calling this to your attention because the resolution appears to be more draconian than it actually is in terms of serving notices to individuals. And we had to do that so that those positions would not be out there to be filled by an administrative law judge if that happens. So I'm hoping that that is clear to the board, and I'm happy to delineate those positions for you if you need more specificity. Human Resources has spent countless numbers of hours working through seniority lists, looking at master schedules, reviewing enrollment patterns, reviewing class sizes in each of the sections on both the middle school and high school's master schedules. We have had several meetings with the middle and high school administrations, really reviewing their existing master schedules and talking with them about how we can continue to provide a meaningful schedule for all of our students with the least amount of disruption to them possible. This was a difficult but thoughtful process, and as I mentioned, we spent a lot of time on it. And this process does not take into consideration employee performance at all. This process is one in which we are looking at seniority and credentials to make determinations on who receives notices. So as I go over this list, and what I'd like to do is take this list one position at a time and allow the board to ask me any questions that they may have, and I will provide a little bit of an explanation on each of the particular kinds of services that you see on the resolution before you. So I will go ahead and start with the athletic director. We have one athletic director in the district, and that is .8, which is all we have allocated for an athletic director at San Marino High School. That is not a full-time FTE. And that is a position that currently falls within the bargaining unit. So you're aware, and a certificated person fills that position. We have not always had an athletic director. In years past, that was a position that was basically managed by the assistant principal and a classified employee who was not a full-time employee. And the position has grown over time, and the level of responsibility has grown over time. And so I just want to remind the board that when we're looking at these positions, you're immediately going to get a visual of the incumbent in that position, but that is not necessarily the person who will get the notice, right? Because this is done based on seniority, and there are bumping rights that certificated professionals have. And they can exercise those bumping rights based on their seniority and their credentials. So we're looking at what authorization is permissible to allow service in that particular category. And then we take all of the individuals district-wide. And in a departmentalized setting, that means grades 7 through 12. So let's just use English as an example. You have English teachers at the middle school and the high school. And so if you were reducing 1.0 in English, you would put all of the teachers in the district that have English credentials in seniority order. And the least senior English teacher would be the one who gets a notice. So I just wanted, that's just very basic information, but I think it's helpful for you because it's important to not necessarily associate incumbents with these particular kinds of services because all of that is subject to change. So moving on, we have in the category of elementary, kindergarten through 5th grade, those are multiple subjects credentials. There is 4.0 on that list. And we have 3 teachers in that category that are taking the retirement incentive. And so again, I want to stress that this is all driven by class size ratios at the elementary. So we staff elementary classrooms 24:1, grades K through 3rd. We staff typically grades 4 and 5, anywhere from 27 to 29. And then we work from there. So that is driven by enrollment. And so what the district needs to do is we need to have a sufficient number of people on the list, hoping that we can rescind some of those notices based on the need to staff those classes with elementary teachers because of enrollment. So we have an elementary music position on the list. This is a position that is not currently funded by the district. This is a position that is currently funded by PTAs at the elementary. The reason that this position is on the list is because we are the employer, the district. And so we have to provide the notice, and then we get reimbursed by PTA to support the funding behind that particular position. We, at this time, have not had the opportunity to sit down and meet with the PTA presidents and the council president to discuss PTA allocations. So it is entirely possible that this position, while on our list out of an abundance of caution, is one that gets rescinded. I don't know. We have to look at those budgets and those allocations to see whether or not we can continue to have PTA support them in each of the schools.
Just to back up and clarify, so you have, all of this has to be done before March 15th. And if it is not done before March 15th, then no action could be taken after. So when you keep saying abundance of caution,
yes,
that we have to do this now if we were ever going to possibly be able to do it.
For the next school year. If we miss that deadline, then we own those positions for another year, which we can't afford given our $3 million deficit. So yeah, we have a very abbreviated window in which to accomplish this task. And it is something we've been working on for a while, and we've, again, we have not rushed into the particular kinds of services that you see on the list, because again, we've done the study of class sizes, what we need to offer to students at the middle and high schools, and we want to be able to offer a comprehensive program for each student, and that was all taken into consideration. But yes, we have to provide notices by the close of the business day on Friday. So that's kind of what we're butting up against. Next on the list, you see elementary STEM, and that's K through 5. Same situation. This is not a position, or these are not positions that are currently funded by the district. They are funded and supported by very generous PTAs, and this may or may not get rescinded. We have a music position. This is band at Huntington Middle School. Currently at Huntington Middle School, we have 3 music teachers with music credentials. And when you have a music credential, while you specialize in a particular area, you are credentialed and authorized to be able to provide services in band, in choir, in orchestra, in a variety of different music positions. And choir is there, and that is the high school. And you'll note that that is 2 sections of choir being reduced, and that is based on the class sizes that we see in the choir program. They are not sufficient in all sections to justify a full-time position at this point. That could change. If we find that a whole slew of kids sign up for choir next year, that's something that we could consider, come to the board and consider adding back. But for now, it doesn't, the class sizes don't justify a full-time position, so that's what we're recommending.
But with this reduction, the high school will still have choir.
The high school will have 3 sections of choir, absolutely. So we're not doing away with that program. And by the way, I mean, we're not suggesting that the band program go away at the middle school either. It's just the delivery of services might look a little different. The number of sections offered and how that is built into the master schedule may appear a little different than it currently does. And the numbers in band are not sufficient at Huntington Middle School to justify a separate teacher. And so those numbers are very low compared to what they really should be. And the other thing that we need to consider is that we have several electives to choose from at the middle school for the size middle school that we have, and that's a great problem to have. But kids have to make a choice as to what they're going to choose on their elective wheel. And so those numbers are down, and we took that into consideration in making this recommendation to you this evening. Then you see foreign language Spanish. That's 1.0. That is a position that is the PARS retirement. So we're not going to necessarily have to notice someone there. And that is at the high school. So the way that we deliver, again, we have a teacher currently who's shared between the 2 schools. So we're going to work out how we're delivering foreign language offerings to students, and it just may look a little different than it does now. And then we have foreign language Japanese, that's 1.0. So the district is committed to continuing to provide foreign language offerings to students. We have Mandarin and we have Spanish. So we do have, foreign language being provided to students, world languages. But at this time, based on the numbers and our deficit, we're looking at reducing that by 1.0. Physical science, this is a combination of Huntington High School, and that's at 1.4. And that's, again, looking at attrition and class sizes and where we can make those reductions. Life sciences, that's 3 sections, and that is the high school. Social science, we listed that as departmentalized because that's a 1.6, so it's a combination of sections between the high school and middle school. And then we have English. And so we have 2.4 FTE. Part of that is attrition. not just reduction in force. And that is between attrition that we're realizing through the retirement incentive program at the high school, and then we have attrition at the middle school as well in that category. Then we go down to ELD. This is a combination of a 0.4 and a 0.6 between the high school and Huntington. And so we're, thinking that we can deliver those services differently. Every teacher in the San Marino Unified School District has an authorization to provide services to English language learners. That is part of our board policy, and we are very proud of that fact. So technically speaking, English language learners could be properly assigned to any one of our teachers and still receive the service they need. Then math, of course, is 2.4 FTE, and that is split between the two schools. Speech and debate. This is 3 sections of speech and debate at San Marino High School. We featured those students here this evening. They are absolutely top shelf. It's an amazing program, and we don't want to lose it. But what we're thinking about is, again, allowing our students to take advantage of a speech and debate program, but doing it in a way where the service is being delivered as a club, similar to robotics. And maybe that can be done after school. I know there's a lot of competition and travel that's done. And it's not necessarily ideal, but it is, it's possible. We have drama, which falls under the category of English, and that's a 1.0 at the high school. Yearbook, and those numbers have changed a lot too, and it's just an amazing program. We've had just a wonderful, wonderful drama program, and it really is very important to our kids, so we really hate to have that on the list. Yearbook at the middle school, we have 2 sections there. We have 1 section of art at the middle school, and actually 1 section, a 0.2 is 1 section, let me clarify that, I'm sorry. So we have 3 sections, 1 of art, media arts, and then ASB, and then a 0.4 of yearbook, so that's actually combined.
And when you hear sections, that means periods.
Periods, yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, I asked
Yeah,
that question.
periods. Thank you for clarifying that. And then we have elementary 6th grade, 2.0. And we thought about actually recommending this change for the current school year that we're in, because when we started the year, 6th grade class sizes were like 24, 25 to 1, which is very similar to how we staff K through 3rd. And very, very unusually low. Those numbers have come up. But we still believe that next year, based on our numbers, we have 1 fewer 5th grade section that's coming up from Valentine. So Carver has 4 5th grade sections, and Valentine has 3. So we're looking at a decreased enrollment in 6th grade, and so again, looking at having a staffing plan that is commensurate with enrollment is really important. We have 3.0 school counselors on our list. The thinking behind this particular category is that 5 years ago we did not have full-time school psychologists and counselors at each of the elementary schools. This has been just a wonderful gift. Many elementary schools in the surrounding areas do not have both a full-time school counselor and a full-time school psychologist. In years past, our psychologists have been split. As an example, we had the school psychologist at Huntington Middle School split between Valentine and Huntington. We had, years ago, a part-time school psychologist at Carver. We've always had a full-time psychologist at the high school because of the needs there. They're very different. So we do believe that we can, it's not ideal, but we can survive and still, try to get our kids what they need. If we keep the school psychologists at each of the elementary schools full-time, and we eliminate the school counselors at that level. There would also be one school counselor at San Marino High School that would be absorbed through attrition. And I just wanted to talk with the board a little bit about what the student to counselor ratios would look like under that scenario. So currently we have 6 counselors. That ratio based on our current enrollment is 173.5 to 1. The professional organization for counselors recommends that counselor to student ratios be 250 to 1. So we are well below that currently. If we were to reduce to 5 full-time counselors at San Marino High School, our student to counselor ratio would go to 208.2 to 1. And that is below the recommended. And we're not proposing this at this time at all, so know that. But if we were to go down even further to 4, our ratio would be 260.25 to 1, which is just above the average that is recommended by the Professional Counseling Association. Many of our neighboring districts, by the way, there are districts in the surrounding areas that have 600 to 1 and 700 to 1. That would never be acceptable in San Marino. We would never even come to the board and ask you to entertain that. But I just want us to have perspective when we're thinking about these things and making comparisons. We do studies all the time on these things. So that explains the school counselor positions. Speech and language pathologist. We have many talented individuals district-wide in this position, well, in every category I just announced, but the SLPs it's a designated shortage area in the state of California. Simply put, there's not enough SLPs to fill the need in the state, and so they are like gold, but we are overstaffed in this area remarkably, according to an outside independent consultant. Her name is Linda Lowe. She is a very highly regarded professional who comes in and looks at programming, staffing, how we can provide outstanding services to special needs students in a very high level manner, but maybe at a lower cost. And so that was her recommendation, and so we have a 1.0 in SLP. We have a school psychologist at the district level that goes out and provides services to all 4 schools. We have a resignation currently, so this would not end up with a notice, but it would end up changing locations. So the school psychologist at the district office would end up serving one of the sites to replace the resignation. And then we have a special education program specialist position 1.0. This is the position that supports the director, and this person has resigned and will not be returning next year. And so this will not result in a notice either, just an elimination of the position for the time being. So I'm happy to entertain any questions that the board may have at this time. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, you're right.
Okay, first of all, Jen Cho.
Sorry. Oh no, Jacob Chan.
Can you repeat your first name?
Jacob.
Oh, okay, Jacob, okay.
Good evening, board members and superintendent. In light of the topic discussed at hand, I would simply like to take a bit of your time to input the opinion of a graduating senior. With many VAPA teachers and other teachers set to leave or retire from the school this year, I ask that the administration carefully considers their options in this financially difficult situation. Many students don't just like their VAPA programs, they find their passions in them. Drama, dance, speech and debate, and music are all safe spaces for students who enjoy these activities. And personally, I know people whose lives have been turned around or even saved by these programs like speech and debate. I believe that these programs are what keeps students coming back to SMHS, and it will be what we look back on fondly in the years to come, from Peter Pan to playing in the band. As a student who's both in VAPA in the form of the school jazz band and in the form of the speech and debate team, and also has many friends in these programs, like some of these over here, I implore the administration to continue this legacy into the future. These programs are staffed with amazing teachers like the band director, Mr. Horikawa, and filled with bright students, and these programs ought to continue to serve the community and their students. As our upcoming activity, arts, and athletics presentation at the high school that honors students in VAPA and other activities approaches, I hope that the community can come together to help resolve this issue, and I hope that the school administration can help to facilitate discourse on this problem that faces us today. Programs like drama, dance, speech, and debate, and music are a valuable legacy that the school can impart on its students for years to come. Continuing to build upon VAPA programs may not necessarily immediately make money, but they gift our high schoolers with opportunities that few others can afford. San Marino High School has always been a unicorn to me, and despite my insistence to my 5-year-old sister that they do not exist, I think San Marino is proof of that, in the sense that San Marino has been an incredibly unique environment for me to grow up in. I simply desire that it remains a unicorn in the future, so that my 5-year-old sister can experience many of the same experiences that I have. Thank you.
I have to follow. And they always say, don't follow kids and animals. I'm not going to repeat a lot of what you said, but I agree with it wholeheartedly. I was involved in both VAPA and athletics, and I recall speech and debate was a program that existed in San Marino since the early days when I was there. We have a problem. You have tough decisions to make. I don't doubt that. The real problem is we learn about these tough decisions today. Okay? You have now forced this upon the community and the board to make the decision today because you couldn't make it earlier. You could not even place in the packet delivered online this resolution and that list. So I don't understand the total lack of communication with respect to these tough decisions. Now you do have until May 15th until you have to actually close out these. May I suggest that you enter into a very well-publicized dialogue with the public, because they are the ones that are affected. Our students are the ones affected by these decisions. And by the way, getting rid of 31 positions is draconian. If my kids end up with a counselor that leaves, they're all 3 and 1 counselor going into their senior year, what does that mean to them? They've lost the person that is going to write the letter of recommendation to colleges for them. What happens then? What claim do you have then? That affects 3 kids right there, one of which who's promised me that if you get rid of the drama program, she's leaving school. She is out of here. As much as I tell her that's not a good decision, but senior year, she's stubborn enough because she takes after her mother to do it. She's going to listen to she. So you have decisions up here that affect students. For example, if you have 2 years of Japanese and you need 3 to get into college, what are you going to do? They've cut that program. I know these are tough decisions, but I do not believe, given how short they've been introduced to us, you have the time to consider the impact that they have on the people who are here to protect, to serve, and to make sure that are well-educated our kids. So because you've now forced your people into a decision, the board into a decision tonight, you better do a very good job publicizing. There are very good reasons why you need to cut. It was made clear to us all that the rationale behind these cuts was finally explained 4 days before you have to give the pink slips out. That part is a failure. Now, my plan was to tell the board that you have until May 15th to make these decisions, but as I understand it, you have until March 15th. May 15th is when you have to make the final decision. You better get out, talk to all of us that are here as the basic decision and what you're going to do to protect our kids who are caught in the second year or the third year of Japanese, who are caught with a counselor going into their senior year, who, as Jacob said, love this. We talk, you put out, I'm sorry, I get excited over things. You put out a statement after WASP, okay? I find it ironic that the WASP report and the WASP people come here and then 1 week later you make a decision to cut programs that you advertised to us that WASP thought we were doing well. Supporting the wellness of our students. You're going to get rid of student psychologists. Supporting the arts. You're going to get rid of a band director. You're going to get rid of a drama person. You're going to get rid of speech and debate and make it a club. That's not fair. What are we to believe now? When should we bring WASP back in on May 15th and ask them, what do you think of our program now? I'm sorry, guys, that's a bit fishy. And you have time to clean it up. And you should. Thank you.
I've been holding off on saying something for a very long time. There is a problem in the school district with the counseling department. Everyone knows it, everyone feels it, everyone talks about it behind closed doors. And now we're looking at, let's see, what was the attitude? A we can survive attitude by reducing our numbers of counselors available. I heard the number 173 to 1 is what our counselor ratio is at now. I don't think that's actually accurate, except that maybe for the past week or two when the substitute was brought in to make up for the person on maternity leave, which actually I believe bumped up everyone's ratio to be 218 to 1. We were asked to have the perspective that public schools have ratios of 700. This community doesn't compare to public schools. This community compares to private schools. Private schools have a ratio of about 20 or even 80 to 1. They have 2 to 3 advisors and counselors per student that follow them from 9th grade all the way through 12th grade. So when we talk about those letters of recommendation and the weight they carry tremendous weight, not just for the students to get into college, but actually helping the students make the right decisions to find the right college. That is a huge gap in our system that we've just gone through. I just went through it with my 2 sons. I went and advised them every step of the way because they had 3 different counselors while they were here for 4 years. That's totally unacceptable. I didn't say anything because I love this school district. I love this community. I do not want to see anything in this community be ripped apart by anything said publicly. But if these are the things that need to be said in order to bring to light some wisdom in the decisions that this board and this district administration are going to make, then I will bring those things to light because I just can't stay quiet about that anymore. We are compared to private schools. We lose kids to private schools. We lose kids to La Cañada. We lose kids to South Pasadena. We lose kids to Arcadia. And these schools all have better ratios and counselors than we do. These schools all have these programs that are highlighted left and right, which I think Ms. Navalle is doing a fantastic job of doing. Our kids are fantastic and amazing at San Marino schools. And they do that because the teachers are fantastic and amazing at our schools. They give hours and hours of their time. Parents give hours and hours of their time. All of this is done because this is a fantastic community. And what I also find frustrating, and echo Mr. Talt's comments, is that the timing of this is unfortunate because the community was faced with the decision to step up to a challenge of providing resources for this school district, and they were not given all the information they could have been given to make a really informed decision. And that's unfortunate because there are people in this community who thought that a different alternative should have been presented, which I don't disagree with, but I think if there had been a larger campaign for this community to really understand what we were about to lose, I think that this community might have made a different choice. Of course, it's impossible to ever know that now, but I think asking the community to step up at this point is not unheard of because this community has always refused to lose, and I don't think they're about to start now.
Any comment and question for Linda?
No more cards?
No more. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I have a few things to say. This is a very difficult night. We've done our best to delay having to make these decisions in order to provide the best educational experience possible for our students, to keep class sizes as low as possible, and to minimize the adverse impact on our employees for as long as possible. But we can't do that any longer, and we are forced to consider reductions in order to meet a statutory deadline of March 15th and present a balanced budget in June. This community's gone through this before, back in after 2008, 2010, the Refuse to Lose. And the community did come together. The economy improved, and the district was able to restore many positions. And that is a possibility again now. After Refuse to Lose, donations to the Schools Foundation, the PTAs increased, our parcel taxes were renewed, and our community wanted the dollars to go to smaller class sizes. They wanted it to go to increased enrichment and educational offerings. So that's where the money went, and those are all the kinds of programs that our students have enjoyed in these last 10 years. We have the district expanded its AP offerings. We have innovative educational offerings like the Honors Humanities class, the STEM research at Caltech, the STEM labs in the elementary schools. We added the school psychologists and the counselors at all the school sites. We added computer coding and speech and debate at the middle school. And despite the declining enrollment that we saw on the chart, we maintained those small class sizes. And so I'm hearing that maybe we should have cut years ago and made these hard decisions years ago, but then our students wouldn't have been able to have the benefit of the last couple of years of having the lower class sizes and of having these programs that are so important to our community. So here we are again, 10 years later. We're being forced by the state to undo some of the progress that we have made over the last 10 years. It's not that the district hasn't done anything in the last couple of years to reduce costs and try to realize savings. Through attrition, through what you call the hiring frost. Our employees last year, they sacrificed and they did not receive any raises. We had an early retirement, and those teachers chose to take the retirement. So the counselor at the high school, that one position that is being eliminated, is the counselor who chose to retire. So she wasn't going to be there anyway for these students. But all of those things just weren't enough to address the growing structural deficit that has been caused by the lack of our state to provide sufficient funding. And we've heard other reasons: declining enrollment, increased pension benefits costs. And it's little consolation that other school districts in San Gabriel Valley are going through the same thing tonight or before March 15th that we're going through. So I personally am glad that we were able to put off these difficult decisions as long as we did. Our students did enjoy smaller class sizes, some great educational enrichment programs, and affected employees were employed longer than they would have been if we had authorized reductions last year or the year before. But that still doesn't make tonight's decisions any easier. So the question, I think, to the board is, given the realities of our situation, what are our options moving forward? It's really important to me that our teachers know and understand that they're valued, at least, I mean, I believe the board values all of us do. So how can we demonstrate that support to our teachers when the state funding is not sufficient to pay for their positions and the programs that our community has enjoyed and expects? So I know we have the first group, but we're still, you know, they've been learning all about our district, and that takes time. And so it sounds like they're not ready to pass along their thoughts. So I'm wondering, should we be considering a study session, a town hall, something to discuss these issues in more detail and obtain community input, as Mr. Talt suggested. Find out from our community, you know, what they're thinking. Should we consider a fundraising campaign to raise money to pay for a community survey to identify whether the community would support an increased parcel tax to help the district continue to have money for these important positions? As we know, the buying power of our current parcel tax continues to go down. It just does not buy the same, you know, given the increased salary and benefits, as what it did in the past. But passing a parcel tax in March is not going to help save the positions that we all want to save today. So do we need to consider doing a Refuse to Lose 2 campaign to address the positions that are in jeopardy tonight? Understanding that one-time money only helps address the current problem, it does not solve future problems. Given that the facility bond did not pass, that our facilities needs have not gone away, and that there is now no possibility in the near future of a significant source of revenue to address those facilities needs besides the general fund, which will increase even further the structural deficit and possibly lead to more reductions. What are our options moving forward in that regard? So I think, again, we should engage the community. We should think about a fundraising campaign to raise money to get a facilities master plan, as the district cannot afford to pay for that. Should we, again, a community survey that would identify what the community's support is. So before I vote on this resolution, I would like to hear from my fellow board members about what you guys think about how we should move forward and how we can limit as much as possible the adverse effects of any reductions in positions on our students and on our employees.
Please.
Yes, my notes, and I'm not going to read through all of them, but my notes are headed Refuse to Lose 2. And I want to make, I've got a lot of notes here on all of the relevant assembly members, state senators, Congresswoman Chu, and others. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that doesn't solve the immediate problem, but we need to, and I'm going to personally undertake, I think I'm supposed to be a legislative action guy, to lobby these guys and really kick it into high gear, because we have a totally dysfunctional situation statewide where we have layoff notices being sent, considered here tonight, and being sent in the San Diego Sweetwater Union High School District. We have layoff notices being sent in Sacramento, layoff notices sent in San Francisco, and the governor's budget includes $900 million to address a teacher shortage. And yet we've got substantial numbers of California districts that are teetering on the edge in terms of deficits, including obviously this one. La Cañada has had the same problem of facing deficits. And, you know, we just need to do our best to eliminate that total discrepancy, that total dysfunction, and bring things around to where they should be. And nationally, there's a little bit of hope. Senator Van Hollen has a bill on the IDEA contribution to gradually scale up to the 40% federal funding so-called requirement by 2029, scaling up roughly 14 billion to 43 billion. And that's, you know, given the size of the federal budget these days and the impact of special ed on kids and families and the finances of districts, that's not a whole lot in my view. Okay, now I spent longer on that than I intended. I think we really need a, whatever you want to call it, something like a refuse to lose too. As Lisa pointed out, we've been through this before. I'm using the term refuse to lose two because there was a refuse to lose one. And the community and the foundation very quickly came together and raised the necessary money. We've had declining enrollment in the past. This declining enrollment is not new, and in fact, until a few years ago, you could chart over, I don't know, go back 15 to 20 years, and it was almost a perfect V-shaped quotes curve. We were at one spot many years ago. It went down below where it is now, I believe, and then came back up. So we've had these challenges before. Failure to pass a facilities bond is nothing new. Other districts have not passed their bond. So I think, frankly, we need, and in fact, to use this a slogan from a school district that I once represented in a legal matter before I was on the school board. Their slogan was "No excuses, kids first," and we really can't take refuge in excuses. And so I think we need to have, by a May final date, so to speak, a closeout date, even though this process has to go forward if we adopt some resolution like this tonight. We need to have, I think, accelerated and supplemental meetings, if necessary, for the schools foundation and the board, and maybe town halls, as Lisa mentioned, because we have to address the central importance of maintaining and indeed increasing excellence. That's important for our property values, particularly in these economic situations. Maintaining our competitive position versus competitive districts and states to attract distinguished residents and for college placements. You know, in San Marino, we don't say that we could increase our police response times from 2 minutes or whatever it is, you know, to 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, what's the big deal? You know, maybe a burglar gets a little farther inside the house or whatever. Or we don't allow the fire department response times to increase by a minute or two. You know, the house won't burn that much farther. We opt for the best as a community on the city side, and that's what we need to do here. And I think on counselors, and you know, that has really struck a chord with me, because counselors are so important, and I frankly don't think we can or should say, gee, if we cut a counselor or 2 or 3, our ratio is still low compared with other school districts. Some of the comments here tonight have addressed that and addressed private school counselors who are, they're our competitors. And, you know, there are a lot of school districts that afford and make room for the kinds of cuts we have to consider tonight. But you know what? Every one of those school districts is not the #1 school district in the state. And I think we can mobilize public support and participation, including by non-San Marino school district families who are residents, nevertheless, of San Marino. They've in the past, we haven't really taken advantage of this, but they've offered, for example, on parcel tax campaigns and with some direct financial assistance to say, look, we're a prominent family, we live in San Marino, we don't have any kids in the San Marino schools, we don't have any connection to the San Marino schools, but it's important for San Marino to make this effort for our schools. And finally, I've just done, I'm not even going to mention the numbers here, but you know, I just did some sort of back of the envelope calculations on the number of families here, number of parents, and what it would take to go a long way toward eliminating this gap, if not eliminating it completely, and I think it can be done. So,
Corey?
So I had a whole thing written out, but I really do agree with Chris and Lisa on this. I know we don't always agree directly, but on this one I think we all can agree. We do need to find other sources of revenue. The state has left districts like ours woefully delinquent or woefully short of funds to run the kind of programs that this community expects, and it's really unfortunate. It's some people I don't know what to say. It's such a difficult spot that the district has put us in, and I don't mean to blame this on you guys, but we were delayed talking about this for whatever reason, the bond, the WASP, for whatever reason. It would have been, as Mr. Tall pointed out, it would have been great to bring this forward to the community so much earlier, and I'm not really sure why we haven't. And now we're stuck with this. We're stuck with, today we have to pass something, I believe, or the district cannot submit. That's why I wanted to move the vote on that second interim to after this, because without this passing, we cannot vote for that. The district does not have the ability to meet its obligations next year. So we are where we are, and I don't mean to be critical of you, but it really is a problem. The community is clearly upset about this and about that list not being more available to them for to be discussed. And the one solace I take in all this is that the notices that we give tonight, or we may approve tonight, are just that. They're just notices. If we can continue to do work on the expenditure side, if we can continue to do work for the first and find more sources of revenue, if the community wants to come together and have a refuse to lose, we can still make this better. We still can improve and not cut some of these positions. It'd be great if we didn't have to cut any of them. That would take a Herculean effort from our community, and I'm not saying our community isn't up to it, but it's a big number. This district has run for quite some time on its savings account, and I think that that's one point that needs to be made to the community. Is it's not that this is a surprise, it's not that this is something new, but I think at least Linda, you pointed out there was a several $million savings account that over the years. This year it's $1.3 million. Last year I think it was close to $2 million. This district has not run on just its own revenues that it's received from the state for quite some time. And that's an unfortunate state of affairs in California. I think it speaks to the funding that the state gives to us. But I don't know any other way out than to approve something like this tonight, but then to put it out to the community and continue dialogue with the community to figure out a way to solve some or all of these programs. I don't want to cut band. I was a band geek from way back. I was in the orchestra performing for the plays that we held at my high school. This is not something I enjoy doing at all, but there's financially there's no way forward, and the only thing I can see, the only hope I can see is that we find some additional revenue, we find support in the community to support these programs and be able to rescind many or all of these.
Thank you.
Okay, Siri.
So thank you to our community for coming out, our students for staying up so late. I'm sorry, I don't even know what time it is. I guess it's almost 11. Okay, do we? Okay. Okay, so students for coming out. I am hopeful and inspired by your words, but I challenge you to also think about the actions that individually and collectively that we can take. It is not by accident that we are in this particular place. And we can say a lot of school districts are facing this. We have run top programs. We have been responsive to the community, so when you wanted or students needed more APs, we did that. When we needed to do blended classrooms, when we need to expand our offerings, we did that. When we needed to align new Common Core curriculum, we were challenged to provide professional development, to have resources available, to look at not only curriculum, but training for our teachers, how to deliver this world-class 21st century education. And in taking that challenge, it's easy in hindsight to say, Shelley, you should have spoken up a little bit more and talked a little bit more about the bond. It's easy to say that after the fact. It's easier to say, you should have known that, perhaps we had to look at foreign language or some of the retirements and attrition and how we can manage the changing requirements for our staff, but also the benefits that they're getting, and to provide that. It really is, school finance is really something that a lot of people don't understand, because a lot of things are not funded, but we try to provide the best for our students. Trust me when I say, and I can speak for the board, that we are extremely passionate about what the kids receive in terms of VAPA, the languages. All of these programs are near and dear to all of our hearts. Our kids went through the system. We advocated for our own children, so it is not something that we entered into lightly. I love the idea about coming back out to the community and hearing what you need and figuring out together how we can solve this problem. This is not a done deal. This is not something, but we have to present it, and we did need to look at our numbers as we're facing declining enrollment and increased costs to running the same programs. And as the requirements are changing for our students, now we're required to provide college to career preparation, career technical training. These classes cost money. Staffing and professional development costs money, just as healthcare and everything else that we want to provide. So as we look to the future, as we work together, I am optimistic that the solutions are before us. that we need to come together. I don't want us to tear each other apart, to point fingers. I really feel that our school board, our cabinet has worked hard at looking at numbers and people. We have not made any decisions lightly. We're listening, we're working with our teachers, we always have been. It was not disingenuous when we met with WAS. WAS is a requirement to have our schools have the certification, so when our kids graduate, that it means something on the certificate. When we're looking at expenditures to take care of the safety with the coronavirus, that's something we still have to step up and answer. So with everything else, transportation, athletics, I will wind this up. I know everyone's looking at me like, okay, so I will wind this up. I just want to say thank you for coming out tonight. Together we can do it. I don't want us to get discouraged. I don't want you guys to not have discourse with us, to not discuss with us. I want you to feel that we have received your message, but that we need to work together to figure out how to proceed, whether it is looking at first, whether it's looking at refusing to lose again or two, whatever you guys want to call it, or turning it back to our community who is smarter, our students, way brighter than us right now at almost 11 o'clock. Thank you for staying, listening, and being open to what we're saying, and we will come together as a community. Sorry, Mr. Chang.
Okay. I think I also want to say something. Otherwise, I want to quickly to finish tonight's agenda. You know we got a lot of critique tonight. Look like this is just last couple of days, last minutes to do this. Actually, I don't think so. Yeah. If you understand the school finance, you will not surprised. You know, compared to other school districts in the Southern California or even the North California, I think every school district is like this. I want to be very honest to you and straightforward. I don't care you guys attack me, but I want to be honest to you to say that for our small school district, you know, our general fund LCFF only the 61%. Actually, the rest of 39%. That depends on the self-funding from this community, including the donation and even the school foundation. In the last 3 years, school foundation is not smoothly because some people pull the leg from the school foundation. They are served for the trustee, but they don't want to participate to write a check. Okay. With that, tonight I first of all because I don't have a kid. My kid is a 2006, 2009 graduate from the school. I think that they also experienced a lot of the cut before, but eventually they're still smoothly in the society right now. So the problem for this school district, because we have smaller school district, we collect less the revenue. But with the last 2 decades, with the community and the parent expectation, we are provide, I think, pretty much over the middle quality education, no matter you believe or not. So I always said we are the chef. So you want to eat the big meal, we cook the big meal for you. But in terms of the resource, that's from the 36%, not from the LCFF. So I don't know if that the community understand this sequence. So tonight the result is based on the several sequence. I believe that one time we don't have money. So that's my second or third turn. So finally we need to sold the stolen property, 6 million to the city. So that then the makes up the gap. So a lot of story for the last 2 decades, you may not know. But anyway, I want to conclude, and even the first committee, I think that they are learning because they have a lot of, they divide several sections. But you know the real practically, I think the only thing we need to find out is additional the revenue resource. I think probably to find the big donor. Okay. And the yesterday, I'm in the healthcare, I tell you, yesterday, eventually, Huntington Hospital, they signed a letter intent, so team up with Cedar Sinai, because they don't have a choice. That's the fact in this society, you know, if you cannot team up, you cannot become the bigger. So when you will lose the competition. So with us, I think every board member already made the effort, and the superintendent and the cabinet. So if a community want to brand, just brand the president, Joseph Chen, okay? And with that, I think the refuse to lose is very important. So tonight I announce, personally, my family, even I don't have a kid, okay, I will write a 10,000 check to the school foundation. That's it. So I hope that everyone just participate, go to the positive, and not just the criticize, because we need to work together. If you still want to eat a big meal, okay, we small school district cannot eat a big meal. You need to understand this. If you haven't done the 101, you probably misunderstand us, but we do our best. Okay.
Sorry, if I may say something.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to start off, I hope you all know that I have the utmost respect for each and every one of you. I don't ever want you to not think that. But just looking at this list, I'm not going to lie, like, I know you all struggled, but I very much struggled with looking and seeing band, choir, speech and debate, and drama all on this list. And I understand that taking away a teacher, yeah, we'll still have the program, but part of what you have to understand about having this program is the teacher is part of what makes the program. We have some incredible students, but without Miss Blake Williams, without Miss Tammy Alderman, without Mr. Horikawa, without Mr. Slim, these programs would not be what they are. And so I just seriously struggle because I struggle that we're compromising some of our award-winning programs, one of which we congratulated tonight, which I think it's incredible that we did that, but I think it's hard for me to say congratulations and then we make you a club. Majority of our student population takes part in one of these programs, and taking that away from them, I don't think that's fair. Taking away teachers who truly care for each of them. I was in the musical and Miss Blake Williams walked in and told the lead, I have a special place for you in our costume room if you ever need a break from everybody else. Because she doesn't just care about getting the program to be where it's at, she cares about the individuals that are a part of the program. And she single-handedly is caring for the wellness of each and every one of her students, which is something that we are trying to capitalize on right now. And again, I just want to say, I came back to San Marino because we are that unicorn. I came back to San Marino because I did have those programs available to me. And I think compromising them compromises San Marino High School as a whole.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to the agenda. So any more discussion, comment? If not, I need to have a motion.
Well, just quickly.
Yeah.
I would love to get the tuition that our private school competitors get, $45,000 per student. Just think what we could do with that. because we do a really, really great job with nothing, basically. So, any rate, 10,000 per student, is that what it is? Yeah, so, any rate.
Thank you. Also, if I may add real quick, adding on to my point, I just want to say that I know that as of right now we have to do something, but I think we need to do whatever we need to do, such as a refuse to lose, to ensure that we can keep as many of teachers as possible, because as you can see tonight, we have students that are willing to show up. And I guarantee if we put on something like that, we're gonna have even more students that are willing to show up.
Okay, thank you.
Just one quick comment on that. When our kids apply to colleges, and that's what we're here for, to prepare them and get them in the best colleges we can, the colleges don't say, oh, well, gee, you came from a district with a deficit, or you came from a district that gets less funding than 41 other states, and even below that gets less funding than any other district in California. They don't have any adjustments. We're competing against, Highland Park in Dallas, the suburbs of New York, schools in Beijing, and private schools here. And that's why I think we.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's take action right now, yeah. Can I have a motion? So we are in 12C, yeah. Resolution number 15, yeah. Can I have a
Move to approve resolution number 15 with the fervent hope that we can rescind every one of the notices.
Yeah, and I'll second with that hope and intent, etc.
Yeah, any more discussion?
I don't think anybody on this board wants to vote for this, but I don't think we have a choice.
No discussion, call for the vote.
Did you call for it?
Call for the vote. All those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Still involved?
No.
Okay. Let's go to the 12D. Okay, 12D resolution number 16 determine time-breaking criteria for the purpose of the certificate day of inducted college.
Absolutely. So we need to approve a resolution determining tie-breaking criteria for the purpose of certificated layoffs effective July 1st, 2020.
Yes.
Jason, did you need further this
Bob? Resolution number 16, resolution of the governing board of the San Marino Unified School District determining tie-breaking criteria for purposes of certificated layoffs effective July 1st, 2020. Whereas the governing board of the San Marino Unified School District has determined that it shall be necessary to reduce or discontinue certain particular kinds of services enumerated in resolution number 15, 2020-2021 of the governing board and district. Whereas Education Code section 44955B states that in part, as between employees who first rendered pay service to the district on the same date, the governing board shall determine the order of termination solely on the basis of needs of the district and of the students thereof. And whereas the district values the services of all employees who may be, by coincidence, share the same date of first paid service in a probationary position. Now therefore it is hereby resolved, determined, and orders as follows. Except as to exemptions based upon district needs, skipping criteria as between certificated employees who first rendered service in a probationary position to the district on the same date, The order of termination of said employees shall be determined by reference to the following tiebreaker criteria, with points to be assigned as follows. 1 point for 30 semester units earned post-bachelor's degree, 2 points for 45 units earned post-bachelor's degree, 3 points for 60 units or more earned post-bachelor's degree. B, 1 point for each current valid non-provisional credential held as of March 15th, 2020. C, 2 points for hard-to-hire credentials held specifically math, science, special education. D, 1 point for each additional supplemental authorization. E, 2 points for an earned master's degree. Employees who have received a layoff notice and who share the same date of first paid service shall be ranked by point totals. Low point totals will indicate low seniority for that hire date. For an example, an individual with a point total of 3 will be subject to layoff before an individual with a point total of 10, where both individuals share the same seniority date and provided layoff was not otherwise determined by virtue of credential, bumping right, or other exemption. If the above criteria do not break a tie, the district shall hold a lottery. Each group of tied employees shall have the right to attend the lottery and pick a lottery number. In the absence of employee, the superintendent or designee will select a lottery number on behalf of the employee. As between tied employees, low lottery numbers will indicate low seniority for that hire date. For example, an individual with a lottery number of 1 would be subject to layoff before an individual with a lottery number of 10. These criteria have been determined to best serve the needs of the district and students thereof and will be applied in any spring 2020 layoff hearing in which the issue may arise.
Okay, okay, yes. Okay, I have one 12D.
There's a public comment.
Public comment. There are 4, 5 people, yeah. Else, Sophie, Jolene, Nesmas, Kim, yeah. Okay.
So this is about the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to speak now? I think I can speak on behalf of a large amount of people, some of which just left because they're disappointed in your decision, but I don't think you guys, I know that you guys want to improve, like, there's budget, like you need to fix certain things, but cutting all these programs is only going to decrease the mental, physical, and emotional health of all these students. I've been a part of drama, dance, and choir for the last 4 years of my life. I've done every musical. I've put so much effort into this program. So to leave as a senior and see that this isn't going to be held on, or things are going to become a club, or you're going to cut the budget of the teachers that actually care the most about their students out of the entire school, it just breaks my heart, because I understand I've done like 12 AP courses and I've still made the time, like lost the sleep, put in the effort, gone through so much, and just prioritized this as a part of my school experience. And without it, I would have probably gone crazy, because I wouldn't have an outlet to put all of my energy into. I wouldn't have discovered my passions. I wouldn't have been emotionally healthy by just having all these AP courses. I understand you have to make budget cuts, but this is the wrong decision. You will lose more students and more money if you cut all these programs, and no one will want to continue, they won't have the motivation to continue all of their other studies because they won't have an outlet. They will just drive themselves insane without these arts. I know you guys are doing what you think is right, and you're not intending for any of this to affect us in this way, but it is, and I want you guys to just put yourself in the mind of a 15, 16, 17-year-old person who's already really stressed out by school, and think about, do you really want to just lose, that's half of my schedule right there. That's half of my schedule. I'm sorry, this just works me up, but we all feel this way, and I just want you guys to hear what we have to say, because I know you don't have wrong intentions, but it just feels like a slap in the face.
Hi, good evening. I'm Julie Nesnes. I'm a senior. I have been part of drama and dance and been proactive in the programs for 4 years as well. What I really want to touch on is the fact that I've actually learned a lot of common core values and most of my life skills through these programs, from professionalism to leadership to public speaking to communicating with others, building friendships, and it has honestly made my San Marino experience the most amazing high school experience I could have asked for. And I feel like I've learned most of these values talking to some of these teachers and having more in-depth conversations with them and seeing how much they care about our well-being. And I don't know what I really would have done without these VAPA programs, because aside from academics, they basically are my life. I have made my friends through these programs, and I actually feel like I've matured through these programs. And it really, really hurts to see that students like my siblings, and I know many other people's siblings, will not be able to enjoy them and grow from them, because I feel like they have played some of the biggest parts in my life and helped me grow as a student. And I don't think I would have been able to handle all of my AP classes and harder academics without the alleviation of stress through doing the musicals, doing the shows, dancing every day. And to me, the difference between a class and a club is the constant repetition of whatever the program or activity that we were doing. And I was recently talking to my econ and government teacher, Mr. Slim, and he was saying he has 3 classes of speech and debate. And to me, that seems like quite a few students to put into a club, and that seems like quite a few students that care about that program. I know I've been in the musical multiple times, and we have students coming from other parts of the school, coming from different sports and different clubs to try the musical because they've heard how fun it has been and how influential it's been on so many people's lives. And it's really, like my students, my fellow peers have been saying, just disheartening to know that this might not be a possibility in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hien Kim, and I'm currently a senior at San Marino High School. I have 2 younger brothers that are up and coming, which is why I'm really putting my foot down on the situation. You have stated that this has happened before and we've pushed through it. However, you must take into account how different that time was. There was an economic crash during that time. College wasn't as difficult to get into. It wasn't nearly as expensive. So I truly don't believe that you can compare that situation to this one. Your job as the school board is to provide the resources to shape us into well-rounded students who are prepared for college and the world beyond. Chopping the arts programs will prohibit students from doing so, and students will be limited to very few school activities, and we are already limited in the academic courses that we are able to take. We just want you to know that we really truly want to handle this in the most positive light possible, but to see that so many arts programs are on the line is truly disheartening. And let us remind you that this room itself is fully decorated with art created by students. And I just want to keep this short. So out of all students, it's the visual and performing arts students that showed up today to stand up for what they love. Even though most of us are seniors, most of us are leaving, if that doesn't say something about how valuable this program is to us, then I truly do not know what will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Leigh McBride, and I'm a senior. I just first of all want to thank you for the privilege to get to speak. I kind of want to talk about community. We are a community, a tight-knit community in San Marino. Now, what VAPA also does is it provides a community for people. Some of the people here in this room have been there with me thick and thin since freshman year. Some of these people have been at my side. I would not have found these people if I did not have these spaces. I would even argue this is the best wellness center I could ever have. This is the best wellness center I could ever have because I knew that I had people to go to and I had teachers that cared. I treat the choir room as my safe space. Some of these people, at the end of the day, if I'm having a rough day, I always know I have something to look forward to at the end of the day. Whether that's musical rehearsal, and not even talking about VAPA, talking about sports. So if we're really a tight community here, I don't see how we're representing that in our schools if we're starting to cut these things. It just doesn't make any sense. I understand that there are budget cuts and all of these things, and I know we can raise the money. I know there are people passionate about the arts, and I care about the well-being of a lot of my, underclassmen friends. I've seen the things they have gone through, and I agree with what some of my fellow students have said. I don't know where they will or would be without VAPA. I honestly do not. Thank you for listening.
Dear board members, my name is William Ford and I'm a junior at San Marino High School right now. As you can tell, I will have to be there next year with all the cuts. For 7 years I've been working towards my instrument. For 3 years I've been working towards making the band program better. I'm in chamber choir, musical, and advanced drama. By cutting these programs, I get left with a massive hole. Earlier this school year, my grandfather died. He was my only role model, as my father died before I was born. I didn't talk to a school psychologist about it. I didn't have to. I didn't have to go to the wellness center because I already had an outlet. Somewhere where I felt accepted, somewhere where I could talk freely, where the teachers understood me, who would talk to me, who would make decisions and not hold me accountable for all the things that I had to do while I was suffering. I've tried to find other ways to be a part of this school, and as San Marino always tries to pride itself on excellence. But we can't do that if we cut some of these programs. We have a drumline that is 14th in the world, and yet we still think that it is a good idea to cut them. The accomplishments that we do, we get 5th in the entire Southern California region for band. We were one of the top choirs in the state, got an invitational to Washington, D.C. to sing in their program there, at their version of the Walt Disney Hall. We have all these amazing programs, along with the musicals, which have raked in a significant amount of money for the school. If we cut these programs, it does not only just ruin it doesn't always just ruin how we can spend our time at school. It ruins all our friendships, people that we don't see every day anymore, because we have chose to end a class. And with this whole new 12D, how it's the criteria for it. Criteria should not just be the amount of credits used for a person. We are not a statistic. We are people and we have needs for these. If we look at each other as a statistic, as a point of plus and minuses, it doesn't matter what we do, we will still make the wrong decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Logan Wing and I'm a senior at San Marino High School. Me and my friends have talked about the very broad impact that this is going to have on the students in our district. But personally, I don't know where I would be without some of these programs. My whole life I've dealt with family who have suffered from substance abuse. I spent the better half of my childhood living with my grandparents because the police department didn't know where my parents were. I did not grow up in San Marino. I don't even live in San Marino. I live in Pasadena. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression when I was 11. I was either going to go to Pasadena or El Monte schools. And then once my parents got back on their feet, I moved in with my mom. was going to go to Pasadena High School. A few thousand kids. Don't stick out at all. And I was so worried because of where I was at mentally and emotionally. I didn't think I would make any friends because so many people, so many different diverse groups. It may seem easy to fit in, but it makes it that much harder because everybody has found their niche. And when I got the news that I would be going to San Marino, I didn't know what that meant. I was only 11. My parents were crying and I thought something was wrong. I was like, San Marino is just a bad school. Should I go to Pasadena? No, there were tears of joy because of the opportunities that I would be able to receive at these schools. So I attended Huntington Middle School, and I remember at the transfer orientation that you get before 6th grade, we signed up for electives, and I wanted to do like the wheel because I didn't know I wanted to do something musically, but my dad convinced me to do choir, and I told him I don't want to do choir. I don't want to stick out. I'm worried about what people are going to think. What if they don't think I'm as good as you and Mom say I am? But I gave in and I signed up for choir. I met Mr. Jameson on the first day of class. And from that point on, my life has never been the same. I got off my medication by halfway through 7th grade, and I was saved. I've faced a lot, and without choir or doing musicals, I'm also part of drama, part of musicals. Without those programs, I don't know where I would be. I could be at a different school because I don't like it here or something. I have thoughts as a depressed person does about taking my own life. I don't know where I would be without these programs and the relationships and the connections that I made. And if you cut these programs, what are the kids like me going to do? You lose them one way or another because they don't know where they're.
Okay, time off. Okay. As a board president, and also I want to speak on behalf of my fellow. I totally, touch all your 6 comment. The only resolution, we need to fight for this reality. To fight for this reality means that we need to get together. I think that the refuse to lose is one of the solutions. As you know, I personally already commit right now. So we need to work together. This is a format for the LA County education. But you never know. Maybe we can bring back. So that depends on the entire community effort. So I hope you understand. And besides that, in life there are a lot of failure, and the reality you have to face. So when you graduate from the high school, you may face more. So we need to turn into the positive energy. See how we can make this become the positive. So I hope the staff from today, go to the school, go to the community, ask the people, work together. Yeah, I think that's the only solution. I'm sorry I attacked you. I'm very attached to you. And I have two kids before they are doing the same way. I say I'm the school board, I cannot do anything because I need to follow. Yeah, so I hope go home, take a good sleep, and tomorrow when the sun rises, I think the hope will come out. Okay. Okay. Board member, do you have any comment?
So students, I want to thank you for your bravery, and I want to thank you for your passion and for sharing your story with us. I want to invite you to meet with us and speak with us and continue this conversation. Don't leave. I'm going to give you my cell phone number so you know that we are committed to meeting and talking with you and finishing the dialogue. We were just trying to keep it in a structure that we allow everybody to be heard, and so President Chang had to kind of stop because he needed to get something done. But we will continue this conversation. It's not over, so please, I'll give it to you. Okay, thank you. You want to add something?
I just, you guys, you spoke so eloquently and from the heart, and thank you very much for coming and sharing your experiences. My children were also involved in chamber choir and musicals, and I know how important they are. They are not on the chopping block as programs, but as Mrs. Ryan said, would love to talk with you. I think you guys are great spokespeople for this message that we need to get out to the community, that we cannot let these positions be reduced, and our community needs to come together. It is unfortunately about money, and that sucks, sorry, but it's $3 million that we have to find because we don't have it. And so the district was trying to figure out a way to address this issue. But if we can get the community to come together and save these positions, I think you guys will be instrumental in that. So thank you.
Yeah, we will get the money, and thank you so much. And I was making sure that we got everything, including Grace's comments, on tape, because I think it was so much from the heart and so eloquent, and we're gonna be, I guess I'd like your permission, although you're in a public forum, but I wanna use this. I wanna use your state, I wanna use the tape in the community and with others, so.
I know as well as all of you what band especially meant to me. It was my friend structure for many years, including my college years. This is not something that any of us want to do. Unfortunately, there are things that school districts have to deliver, and there are things that we like and we want to deliver. And VAPA kind of borders on that. And when it comes down to the finances of it all, it gets really tough. And I'm not suggesting that these programs aren't important to our community. It's something that I certainly hope we can say. I think all the board members here, I think, will be more than happy to continue to push forward with whatever support the Refuse to Lose, whoever drives it, whatever form it takes. I think we'll all be more than willing to participate in that Refuse to Lose campaign. But it's kind of gotten to that point. This district has been running on borrowed money for a couple of years now, and that was what was helping continue to let you guys have these programs. The problem is that savings account has run out, and it's just not there anymore to give. And so now the money, it's not going to come from the state. The state has pretty much said they're holding to our same funding levels, so it's going to have to come from the community, and it's unfortunate. Communities like San Marino kind of get the short end of the stick in the way that the state has chosen to fund education in our state, and so I think we're all just going to have to ask the community to come forward and show the value. I've been to Peter Pan. I've been to Sound of Music over the last weeks, and it's a community, it's part of the community, I get that, and so we need the community to step up now and unfortunately make up for the difference that the state just won't do.
Okay, by the way, just excuse me as a board president because I need to exercise the agenda. So I also like my part, I'm the one, in the May, I'm checking the temperature, and I worry about you guys probably feel down because high temperature. Yeah, so let's go back to the last one. We need to let everyone go home.
So just to be clear, I think that there was some question about this. This is what's called a tie-breaking resolution. So this is not how the teachers are decided. The union contracts in the education code kind of dictates how this process works. This is only like the last bit where two teachers who are
especially comes into play in secondary credentialing because secondary teachers many times hold multiple credentials, and so when it gets down to tiebreaking criteria, it has to be objective criteria for separating.
So this is not how, this is not how every teacher is decided. It's on seniority, largely on the basis of.
And this is really a mechanical function of the ed code.
Yeah. Okay, can I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution number 16.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Still vote?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, next 13 board superintendent discussion.
We have to go back
back to the.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So I think we can just pick that one up where we left off. I don't think further discussion. So, based on the motion, what we've now done, I think I can make a motion to approve the second interim financials.
Okay, Corey, make a motion. Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Still vote?
Aye.
Motion carried. By the way, thank you for everyone's patience. It's a long agenda tonight. We appreciate your support to the school district. I hope we can continue to work together. Yeah.
Okay, I know you guys have been here forever. First, I just want to say, and I'm sorry, I know you guys want to go home, but students, you are the powerful voice. I want you to know that. What you did tonight was brave. It was heartfelt. Struck me at my very core to what you're saying. And my dissertation work was all about what connects kids to schools, and it was all about the other stuff you guys talked about and discussed tonight. It's time for this community to beat their swords into plowshares and to come together as one and to take this on. And I will tell you, I would never have come to this job had I not believed that this community had the resources, the will, and the commitment to make this not only right, but to take our great district to a whole nother level. And that's not just words. I know we have those resources. And I know it starts with our students, because our students are the reason we do what we do, right? We didn't go into education to be fundraisers or to be bond salespeople or anything like that, or fixing new facilities. I went in because of the beautiful thing that happens from the time the kid enters our schools as a TK student or a K student, and then stands on that podium as proud graduates of San Marino High School. And you seniors, not only do I not want you to leave feeling like, wow, everything that we built, everything we were involved in went away. I want you to be so proud of your school coming back, that we connect with you in meaningful ways to get your input on how we can do things even better. So, I am so committed to everything you guys said and what the Board of Education said. And starting, I know James Lau right there from the foundation, he and I have an appointment on Thursday. And next week I'll be driving out to meet with the foundation director, the president, I'm sorry, of the foundation. And we are committed to hitting the ground running immediately. We absolutely believe that this is doable. And if we come together, and students, I got to challenge you right now, if you guys are willing to work, the community will listen to you, okay? So keep doing what you're doing, stand up, let's get together, and we'll figure this out, okay? we can make this happen. This is a call to action, and it's time for all of us to pull together and act together as one. Thank you.
Okay, before the meeting adjourn, I want to one more time encourage you and also cabinet. Yeah, I know you guys already do your best. Okay.
This is the hardest day of my professional life. I'll just tell you right now. I've been in education for almost 30 years, and I've been through a couple of these, but it's the hardest.
Yeah.
Trust me when you see the impact it has. This is not taken lightly, and I stand with you guys.
Yeah, don't discourage yourself. Yeah, this is my 18th year. Yeah, it's been so many times. We will overcome. Yeah, thank you. Meeting adjourned.